The kangaroo rat. Your kidneys would shut down in 3 days without water. This North American desert rodent hasn't had a drink in 7 years, and its kidneys work better than yours. The secret involves chemistry so efficient that engineers study it for water recycling technology. Living in the driest parts of the Mojave and Sonoran deserts, the kangaroo rat gets all its water from metabolizing the dry seeds it eats. Its body converts the carbohydrates into water through cellular respiration. The kidneys concentrate waste so efficiently that its urine is 5 times thicker than human urine. Its kidneys are 17 times more efficient than human kidneys. One human pee contains more water than this animal loses in a month. It can survive its entire 10-year lifespan without drinking once. Even more impressive, it can detect water sources from miles away, but actively avoids them. Drinking would actually mess up its perfectly balanced internal chemistry. The nasal passages are so efficient at recapturing moisture from exhaled air that almost nothing escapes. Its feces are basically dust pellets. This isn't about surviving without water. It's about being so metabolically perfect that water becomes unnecessary. Evolution basically created the world's most successful teetotaler, the Alpine Ibex. There's an animal in the Italian Alps that treats vertical concrete dam walls like sidewalks. Professional climbers watching them have existential crises, but why they risk these death-defying climbs reveals something even more impressive about their survival strategy. These European mountain goats scale the near-vertical face of the Cingino Dam to lick salt and mineral deposits from the concrete. Their hooves work like suction cups with soft, rubber-like pads that mold to tiny surface irregularities. The outer edges are hard and sharp for gripping, while the center stays soft for traction. They climb surfaces steeper than most building fire escapes. A slip from their typical height would be like falling off a 20-story building. They regularly scale walls at 85-degree angles. Young ibex learn by following their mothers up these death-defying routes before they're even fully coordinated. Despite thousands of climbs recorded, 0 fatal falls have been documented. People think they're showing off or playing. They're actually desperate for salt and minerals not found at ground level. The lack of natural salt licks in their habitat drives them to these extreme measures. Their bodies need the minerals so badly that fear of heights simply doesn't register. Some ibex spend hours on the dam face, methodically licking their way across like they're mowing a vertical lawn. Gravity is apparently just a suggestion when you want salt badly enough. The Himalayan jumping spider. At 22,000 feet in the Asian mountains, human climbers are dying from altitude sickness. This spider is up there hunting for lunch. How does an animal with no lungs breathe where there's almost no oxygen? This tiny predator has colonized the slopes of Mount Everest higher than any other permanent resident. It survives on insects blown up by wind currents, snatching frozen flies and springtails from the ice. Instead of lungs, it uses book lungs, thin sheets of tissue that absorb oxygen directly. At this altitude, it's operating on 1/3 the oxygen available at sea level. It lives higher than 75% of Earth's oxygen. At its altitude, water boils at room temperature. It survives where atmospheric pressure is 1/3 of sea level. Special antifreeze proteins in its blood prevent ice crystals from forming. When food gets scarce, it can slow its metabolism to near-death levels for months. It's not the cold that's impressive. Many animals handle cold. It's the lack of oxygen that makes this impossible. The spider has essentially figured out how to be an athlete in an environment where just existing requires supplemental oxygen for most life forms. During the brief summer, it becomes hyperactive, hunting frantically to build reserves. And yes, it can jump 6 times its body length in air so thin birds can't fly. While Everest climbers celebrate reaching base camp, this spider calls it home. The desert locust. One day, it's a harmless grasshopper in Africa. Give it the right conditions, and it becomes part of a swarm that can eat the food supply of 35,000 people in 24 hours. The transformation is so extreme that scientists thought they were 2 different species for decades. When desert rains create abundant vegetation, the locust brain chemistry completely changes. A spike in serotonin triggers the transformation from solitary to gregarious phase. Their color shifts from green to yellow and black. Body size increases by 50%. Wings grow longer and stronger. Even their brain structure reorganizes. One small swarm eats the same amount as 10 elephants daily. A medium swarm consumes what 2,000 people eat in a year. The largest recorded swarm covered 1,100 square miles. These swarms move like living storms, flying 90 miles per day for weeks. They strip fields bare in minutes, eating every plant down to the dirt. A single swarm can contain 80 million individuals per square kilometer. They don't plan or coordinate these swarms. It's triggered by a serotonin spike that makes them crave company. The more locusts gather, the stronger the urge becomes, creating a feedback loop of destruction. Countries have early warning systems specifically for locust swarms, because once they form, almost nothing stops them. Jekyll and Hyde had nothing on this insect's personality switch. At this point, impossible is just another word these animals ignored. By the way, if you're enjoying these impossible survival stories, I post videos like this all the time. Consider subscribing if you want more. Now let me tell you about Australia's most misunderstood killer, the Inland Taipan. There's a snake in Australia whose venom is so toxic that one bite contains enough poison to kill 100 adult humans. It has never killed anyone. The reason involves behavior so consistent that Indigenous Australians have coexisted with it for thousands of years. Living in the remote Channel country of Queensland and South Australia, this snake produces the most toxic venom of any land snake on Earth. The venom is 50 times more toxic than a rattlesnake's, yet in all recorded history, it has killed exactly 0 humans. When threatened, it gives multiple warning displays, curving its body into S shapes and raising its head. If that fails, it mock strikes with a closed mouth. Only after exhausting every warning does it actually bite. Its venom works 200 times faster than a cobra's. One drop could kill 250 mice. A single bite delivers 110 milligrams of venom. The venom evolved to kill prey instantly, preventing any chance of the snake being injured by struggling prey. It feeds primarily on native rats that could seriously hurt a snake if given the chance. Despite being the most venomous, it's actually one of the shyest snakes. The fierce snake nickname is completely wrong. Remote habitat plus extreme shyness equals 0 human deaths. It actively avoids confrontation and has never been recorded pursuing anything. Nature gave it a nuclear weapon and the temperament of a librarian. The Greenland Shark. Swimming in Arctic waters between North America and Greenland right now are sharks that were alive when Shakespeare was writing plays. They're still hunting successfully despite being nearly blind. And their hunting method? Marine biologists refused to believe it until they saw the stomach contents. These sharks can live over 500 years, making them the oldest vertebrates on Earth. They swim at 1 mile per hour, officially the slowest shark species. Most have parasitic copepods dangling from their eyes, rendering them nearly blind. Yet their stomachs contain fresh seals, fish, and even polar bear remains. Lives 5 times longer than the average human. Some individuals alive today predate the United States. They don't reach sexual maturity until 150 years old. The meat is toxic to eat fresh due to high concentrations of trimethylamine oxide and urea, natural antifreeze compounds that would cause effects similar to extreme drunkenness if consumed. In Greenland, it's buried underground for months to become edible hackarl. They don't ambush sleeping seals. They likely use stealth and the element of surprise in dark waters where speed doesn't matter. The Arctic Ocean is pitch black most of the year, making vision less important than other senses. They probably detect electrical fields and smell to locate prey in complete darkness. Growing just 1 centimeter per year means the largest ones have been hunting since before the American Revolution. Imagine being a teenager for a century and a half. And extreme longevity is just one way nature tests the limits. The Antarctic Midge. In Antarctica's interior, temperatures drop so low that carbon dioxide freezes solid. One insect calls this home year-round, and it does it without wings. But instead of fighting the cold, it does something that would kill any other insect instantly. This tiny fly deliberately dehydrates itself, losing 70% of its body water to prevent ice crystal formation. It's the only true insect native to Antarctica, and the continent's largest purely terrestrial animal at 6 millimeters long. When winter arrives, it basically freeze-dries itself alive. By removing water, there's nothing left to freeze and expand. It survives temperatures that would shatter most insects like glass. It spends 300 days per year frozen solid. It can survive -60 degrees Celsius. The entire life cycle takes 2 years, most spent frozen in larval form. Adults emerge for just 10 days to mate before dying. Its genome is unusually small, stripped down to only the most essential genes for survival. No junk DNA, no redundancy, just pure efficiency. Even its wings were sacrificed. Too much energy to maintain in this environment. During the brief Antarctic summer, it frantically feeds on algae and bacteria, building reserves for another year of frozen suspension. Evolution decided that in the world's harshest environment, less is more. This midge took chill out as a life philosophy and ran with it. The Pompeii Worm. Scientists studying deep-sea volcanic vents in the Pacific Ocean found worms living in water hot enough to sterilize surgical equipment. The worms were thriving. How does flesh survive in water that's literally boiling? These polychaete worms colonize the sides of black smoker hydrothermal vents, building paper-like tubes to live in. The head sits in water reaching 176 degrees Fahrenheit, while the tail extends into near-freezing seawater. That's a temperature gradient of 140 degrees across a 5-inch body. Water hot enough to brew tea instantly. The temperature difference across its body equals winter in Alaska to summer in Death Valley. It survives temperature gradients of 160 degrees Fahrenheit. The secret is a coat of filamentous bacteria that forms an insulating fleece. The bacteria aren't parasites. It's a partnership, where the worm feeds them and they provide heat shielding. The worm secretes mucus that the bacteria eat, and in return, they form a living thermal blanket. Special proteins in the worm's cells maintain their shape despite the heat. Its enzymes work at temperatures that would denature most proteins into useless goo. Blood vessels shuttle cool water from the tail to cool the head just enough to survive. After volcanic eruptions destroy vent communities, Pompeii worms are among the first to recolonize. Your hot tub's extreme setting would be this worm's idea of a cold plunge. Remember when boiling water seemed impossible to survive? This list keeps moving the goalposts. The mountain stone Weta. In New Zealand's mountains, there's an insect that dies every winter. Literally dies. Then it comes back to life in spring like nothing happened. The process is so impossible that researchers initially thought their equipment was broken. This cricket-like insect survives being frozen solid at temperatures down to -15 degrees Celsius. When winter arrives, ice forms in its body cavity and between its cells. Heart stops. Brain activity ceases. No detectable life signs remain. It's frozen solid like a popsicle for 6 months. It would be like a human surviving being frozen in a block of ice. It can survive with 82% of body frozen. Special proteins protect cell membranes from ice damage. Glucose and glycerol flood its cells, acting like antifreeze for the remaining liquid. Come spring, it thaws from the inside out. Heart restarts, brain reboots, and it walks away to eat and mate. It's not hibernation or suspended animation. By every medical definition, it dies and returns to life. The process can repeat for multiple winters throughout its life. Each freeze-thaw cycle would destroy most cells, but the Weta's tissues somehow remember their original structure. Scientists study it hoping to improve organ preservation and cryogenic techniques. Some individuals have survived being frozen and thawed in laboratory conditions over 12 times. Death is apparently just a seasonal inconvenience in New Zealand. Living for centuries is one thing. Coming back from the dead is another level entirely. The naked mole rat. Medical researchers studying cancer in Africa discovered an animal that's literally immune to it. Then they found out that was the least interesting thing about it. What they uncovered next rewrote our understanding of what mammals can actually do. This wrinkled, buck-toothed rodent from East Africa breaks every rule in the mammalian handbook. It's the only cold-blooded mammal, unable to regulate its body temperature. It feels no pain from acid or capsaicin, the chemical that makes peppers hot. Lives 8 times longer than hamsters despite being the same size. Can survive without oxygen 6 times longer than humans. 0 cases of cancer ever recorded despite 30-year lifespans. It can survive 18 minutes without oxygen by switching to metabolizing fructose like a plant. Its cells are resistant to becoming cancerous due to unique hyaluronan production. The social structure mirrors insects more than mammals, with a single breeding queen and sterile workers. They're not blind. They can see. They just choose not to use their eyes underground. Their lips close behind their teeth so they can dig without eating dirt. Metabolic rate is so low they use 70% less oxygen than other mammals their size. They live in underground colonies with complex tunnel systems maintained for decades. When oxygen drops, they just slow down and keep working. Pain that would incapacitate other mammals doesn't even register. Evolution looked at the mammal rulebook and created something that violates every single page. Impossible stopped meaning anything about 10 animals ago. If learning about these reality-defying creatures sparked your curiosity, I create videos about nature's most extreme animals regularly. Subscribe if you want to see more impossible biology. Thanks for watching.